Good evening. It's Cutler here on the Let's Talk to Cutler broadcast. It is already June 1st. It's the 1st of June. Here we are in a new month, and I'm looking forward to what the summer is going to bring, what the summer is going to hold. Listen, I want to say thank you all for stopping by. I'm looking for passengers to ride along with me on what I call the highway of life as we are trying to find this destination, this space, this place that's called better. So thank you for showing up with me here every Tuesday, every Thursday. We're striving to become better, to show up a little bit better tomorrow than we did today. Again, it's not that today was a total wash. It was not that we lost anything today, but it's just that we've realized and we recognize there's room for us to grow. So thank you for, if you've subscribed, thank you for subscribing. I want to ask you this question. This is going to set out the platform and the tone for what we talk about tonight. How much time do you spend fighting? How much time do you spend fighting? And the time and the energy that you spend fighting, is it really worth it? Do you know who you are fighting, whom you're fighting, and what you're fighting? Do you know what you're fighting for? I want to talk about all of that. I want to talk about finding your fight. And I want to do that as soon as we come right back. By the way, go ahead and do, like, share, and subscribe if you haven't. But tell somebody else, Cutler is on, and we're going to have a conversation tonight. Tell them, come on, let's talk to Cutler. All right? I will see you in just a few seconds.
Let's talk to Cutler. One more thing, like, subscribe and share. Come on, let's talk to Cutler.
Did you tell somebody, come on, let's talk to Cutler? If you haven't, I wonder what kind of response you would get. Thank you again for showing up with me every Tuesday and Thursday. I'm only here when I show up. I'm only here for 1,800 seconds. What we've been doing, we've been reading from this book right here. It's called Billboards to Better. This is my 7th book. It is available on Amazon.com, or if you don't feel like going over to Amazon.com, you can go right over to my website, www.gbcutler, and pick it up, www.gbcutler.com, and pick it up. It's my 7th book. Most of my books are available over on Amazon. And listen, you don't need the book to join the conversation. It just helps because the book gives you all these quotes for every day. We are riding along the highway of life, trying to become better. We're reading the billboards, we're reading the signs, and we are taking them internally. We're doing an introspective look at our own lives, not for anybody else, but for the sake of us becoming better. And we're picking up passengers and we're telling them, hey, come on, join the conversation. We are all on our way to this place that's called better. All right. So if you're here this evening, go ahead, buckle up for the ride, put on your seat belts, tell somebody else, hey, join the conversation. Make sure that you do a thumbs up on the conversation. If you haven't, it says to me that you are encouraged by what I have to share, but it also says to YouTube that you kind of like the content that I'm sharing. So come on over in the chat room, talk to me. I want to hear from you all, especially as it pertains to tonight's subject, tonight's topic, when I talk about finding your fight. It occurs to me, and again, let me just tell you, every Tuesday we read our quotes from Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, and then Thursday we'll read the quote from Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Saturday you can read the quote, apply it to your own life. But I'm ready to jump into this conversation because I want to hear from you all, and I will apply it to this quote. But thank you all. Shout outs to our LTTC VIPs for the evening. And they are, based on what I can see here on my end, the first ones to jump in the chat room are Annie Cutler, Linda Martin, and Yvonne Jones. They said, hey, let's ride, ready to ride. Hello, everyone. And then special shout outs to all of you all for joining me. Thank you. But I want to talk about finding your fight. We spend so much time fighting people, fighting ourselves, fighting others. And it occurred to me that there is fight within us, and that if we can just direct that fight the right way, how many fights have we started? How many fights have we caused? How many fights have we taken up? And then after the fight is all over, we say to ourselves, was it even worth it? I joined that fight, but was it worth it? Did it really speak to me? Was there something that I gained by fighting? you all do me a favor. I think it may be Kay Sharp's first time. So if you haven't said hi, please make sure that you say a special hi to Kay Sharp. Thank you so much for joining the chat this evening. We're talking about finding the fight that is within you and understand what we fight for. I believe that there are many causes for us to fight for, many reasons for us to fight for, but I don't believe that there are many people that we should be fighting. If we're going to fight, you all, let's fight principle. Let's fight the things that fight us. Let's oppose the things that oppose us, and let's not fight people. My greatest fight I've discovered is not with people. One of my biggest fights is with me. One of my biggest battles is with me. It's not necessarily with somebody else. And then I've learned to fight the principles. I've learned to fight concepts. I've learned to fight some things that are sometimes so intangible and so esoteric that they only concerned me. Cutler, what are you talking about? You haven't even gotten to the quote for the evening. Let me go to the quote. Our quote is based on March 30th. And the March 30th quote says this: oppose opposition and resist resistance. A very simple quote. Oppose opposition and resist resistance. I want to give you a little bit of the behind the scenes piece on this. When I wrote this, I thought about the times, you all, that we spend fighting, the time that we spend arguing, the time that we spend disagreeing, the time, the negative, the energy that it takes to become negative, the amount of effort it takes to be confrontational. And I realized that it is such a loss. It's such a loss. It's a loss of time, a loss of emotion, a loss of effort, a loss of fight for no reason, just to be confrontational for the sake of being confrontational. And I think about people who sometimes just say no for the sake of saying no. I think about the types of people who are just difficult and who enjoy being difficult. Why? Just for the sake of being difficult. I also thought, you all, about how hurt people hurt other people. I thought about how broken people strive to break other people. I thought about how messy people like to smear and mess up the lives of other people for no other reason than the fact that misery, yes, it really does love company. So I wanted to share this message, and I hope it becomes a positive message for us all. If you're going to fight anything, fight the thing that fights you. Find out what that means for you. The things that are fighting you, fight back. Fight those things. Oppose the things that oppose you. Resist the things that resist you. So when hope tells you that you can't have hope, you fight it and you say, I will have hope. I'll raise my hope. I'll have expectations because my life is worth living. When things come to fight you and fight your peace, fight those things that come to disturb your peace of mind that you've worked to gain, your peaceful habitations that you've built and decided to live in. Fight those things. Fight those things. Mika, glad to see you back this evening. Learn how to do what I call hate hatred, love love, oppose oppositions, the things that oppose you and don't want you to succeed, don't want you to have, don't want you to obtain, don't want you to attain, don't want you to achieve or succeed. Fight those things, oppose those things, resist that kind of resistance. I am not saying to any of us to become pushovers, because I'm telling you this, my mother would tell anybody, and I had to get to a point where I tell her, Mom, stop telling the story, because I was always up for a good fight. So I say to you, don't be a pushover. Don't be anybody's doormat. But here you all, don't go out there and start stuff. Don't be nasty. This is just a character check that we're having this evening. It's a character check for us. Don't be nasty. Don't be unkind. Don't be cruel. Don't be heartless, but learn to be kind and courteous and respectful and appreciative. Let's also learn to teach our children how to be loving. Let's be the kind of people, this is when I realized that I may be getting older, because I've said to you all before, I'm closer to 60 than I am 50. But let's be the kind of people who make the difference that we want our children to live in. Let's be the kind of people who can live lives and build reputations that we don't mind sitting in when we're old, or at least older. Let's build bridges, you all, and pave roads and make ways that we are proud to have others cross and follow. Then let's exhibit the kind of behavior. Let's model the kind of lives that we don't mind others imitating. This is what I call my character check quote. Learn how to place your fight. Have you all ever heard of this term, misplaced anger or misplaced aggression? It means that we are directing our energies toward the wrong thing. We're fighting the wrong things. We're fighting the wrong people. But let's fight to be peaceful. Let's fight to be loving. Let's fight to be hopeful. Because do you not know that something may come your way every single day that comes to interrupt and to disturb and to barricade your peace and your joy and your love and your all of that stuff comes to oppose you. So that's why the quote says, oppose opposition. Stuff comes to resist you so that you can't reach your goals, so that your dreams can't be realized. Learn how to resist the things that resist you. That's all this quote is about. It is what I call a character check. So that way, when we show up tomorrow, we show up in a space that says, you know what, I fought to get here. And because I fought to get here, I'm going to live here successfully. I'm going to live here peacefully. And once you find the fight and you direct your energy toward the fight to get to a space that you can love and enjoy, you will enjoy and you will appreciate that space. I just thought about the things that just kind of just want to mess up your day, mess up your life, mess up your space, mess with your head, mess with your heart and your emotions. Those are the things that you fight. Spend more time fighting those things and less time fighting people. More time fighting those things and less time fighting people. And if people happen to be the vessel that delivers those things, learn how to attack those things and not necessarily attack people. That is a hard lesson. That is a hard lesson. Because many times, I just might need to stay here and talk about this thing. Many times people are the vessels that bring the vitriol and the putrid stuff into our lives. And we spend so much time fighting them as opposed to the things that they bring into our lives until our fights are misdirected. We end up fighting the people instead of the stuff that they bring. That's why it is much easier for me at this age. It is much easier for me to dismiss people and their foolery. I can dismiss them, but I zero in on the stuff that they bring. And that's why I can say to people sometimes, you are welcome into my life. You're welcome into my space, but I have to examine the stuff that you try to bring. Because when I examine the stuff that you try to bring, if it comes to oppose me, if it comes to resist me, if it comes to hurt me, if it comes to harm me, if it comes to break me, then my fight is not with you, but my fight is with the stuff that you bring. And you have the right to do that. You have the right to say that. My stuff, my fight is not with you, but my fight is with the stuff that you bring. And if you can't respect me enough to leave that stuff out, then you become the casualty of war. Because now not only must I leave it out, but I must leave you out because you become the carrier of it. Now, look, find your fight. Make sure that you're fighting strategically. Make sure that you're fighting to get to a space and a place that you can enjoy and have peace about your fight. I'm not telling you to go out and beat people up and be happy about beating them up, but make sure that when you fight, you're okay with the results of your fight. So that means oh my goodness, you all. So that means some of us have engaged in fights and we may have to re-examine, oh my goodness, was that fight really worth it? Was I fighting a principle or concept, or was I fighting a person? And why was I fighting a person? Was it really worth it? Sometimes friendships have ended because we were fighting people instead of the mess that they brought. And we ended up fighting them. And now we don't speak to them because we forgot or we didn't focus on what was important during the fight. We were attacking each other as opposed to what the stuff that was being brought, the principles that were being brought up to the surface. Find your fight. Direct your energies at the thing that come to attack you. All right. That's my character check lesson. And it becomes easy to love people when they come with mess, because you can love them and still dismiss the mess. All right. I hope that helps somebody, because it helps me as I sit in this space this evening. It helps me as I sit in this space. I hope you all can appreciate that. I hope you can grasp that. All right. And of course you can grasp it, because that's why we sit here and we talk about it on these Tuesdays and Thursdays. And I had to deliver that in such a way that, again, it speaks to me and it says, okay, Cutler, when you show up tomorrow, make sure that you show up in a space that you fought to get to. All right. I put that preposition at the end of that sentence, but it's okay. All right, y'all, I want to go to the quote. By the way, if you're just joining the conversation, please come on in the chat, do a thumbs up, and just know that we're reading from this book, Billboards to Better. It's my 7th book. I would love it if you went and got it. Yes, I really would. I know I often say that, hey, you don't need the book to join the conversation, but it helps because you can have all of these quotes. I would love if you all would support this. I really, really would. So thank you for those who already have. All right, I want to go to the quote from May 31st, and it says, "The message matters much more than the messenger and the methods." Wow. The message matters much more than the messenger and the methods. When I was growing up, this quote reminds me of substitute teachers. I think about substitute teachers, you all. So I have to sort of pull this into the conversation. By the way, I think this may be Coffee Brown's first time. So you all, please make sure that you give a shout out and a warm welcome to Coffee Brown. Thank you so much for joining the chat. I appreciate you for that. I really, really do. May 31st, I'll quote again, says, "The message matters much more than the messenger and the methods." When I was growing up, there were some students who gave substitute teachers a hard way to go. Now tell me this, were you one of those students who gave substitute teachers a hard way to go? Put it in the chat. I need to see it. And whatever you put in the chat stays in the chat. I won't talk about you, but there was some, and I have to confess, I sometimes gave substitutes a hard way to go to. I really, really did. But substitute teachers, they were delivering the same content that the full-time teachers left for them. The full-time teachers left a daily lesson plan for the substitutes. So the substitutes did what the full-time teachers left. And it's interesting that while the content and the instructions were the same, some of my classmates just didn't take it seriously. They didn't take it seriously. But one day, one of my teachers really, as we say, got hip to what the students were doing. And the teacher gave a quiz on the information that the substitute had given. And they realized, the students realized then that it didn't matter who gave the instructions, who taught the lesson, because what mattered was the lesson itself, whether it was the substitute teacher or the full-time teacher. And that's what this quote is really about. I think about how we are sometimes drawn to and we are attracted to people who have certain personalities and certain styles of communication. I especially think of this within the context of this. This is just my experience. I certainly, Shonda said I was a nerd. I like school. I did too, Shonda. I have to admit, I like school too. But this quote, I think of how we are drawn to certain kinds of people and we are drawn to certain kinds of personalities and styles. And again, it just happens to be my experience that this is important within the context of church and education and school. So don't get me wrong, you all. I understand that some people have more dynamic delivery styles than others. I really do. But the message is what I'm talking about. The message is still the same. Some students just learn better from certain professors who have a different kind of delivery. They really, really do. Some students like a really dynamic and energetic kind of delivery. But again, the message really still is the same. There are some parishioners who are mesmerized by preachers whose delivery is a little more charismatic and entertaining than others. And there is absolutely nothing wrong with that. But just for a moment, you all, just for a moment, I don't want to really focus on the recipients, those who are sitting out in the classroom seats or sitting in the church pews. I don't want to talk about the recipients right now. No, I want to focus on those of us who are delivering the message. I want to focus on those of us who sometimes think that we are more powerful Oh my goodness. We think that we are more powerful and that our message is much more life-changing than other people simply because we're just charismatic. Just because we're charismatic. There's sometimes people who think, oh, wow, I'm really powerful. I'm really doing something because yes, you all are really talking about these substitute teachers. Yes, you all know they had it rough because we were harsh to on these substitute teachers, gave them a hard way to go. Yes, right? Unless your parents were the parents who stepped in and threatened you and said, I don't care who's in that classroom, you make sure that you learn to behave, right? But when I think within the context of people who speak and who deliver the message, this kind of sort of, even for me, is an ego check to remind us that we're not all that great. We're not all that great. We're not all that wonderful. What's really great and wonderful is the message itself. I often hear people, especially when they talk about great orators, especially within the church, great preachers, they talk about how powerful they are. But you want to know what's really powerful, you all? It is the message itself. It is the message that is powerful. And I say that because the words God loves you is just as powerful out of the mouth of a 3-year-old as it is out of the mouth of a 33-year-old who graduated from Harvard Divinity School. God loves you in and of itself is still powerful. I don't care who says it. The words, God will make a way, are just as powerful out of the mouths of an 80-year-old woman who struggled to raise her children by herself as it is out of a 22-year-old who spent 4 years on active military. It is the message. And we have got to get to a point where we can receive the message and not be so colored and so tainted by the messenger. We've got to get to the point where we stop dismissing the message just because we have issues with the messenger. Got to. And by the same token, we have to become, now here's a challenge, you all. This is the challenge for us. Again, if you haven't said hi to Asha F., please make sure that you all say hi. Asha, thank you so much for joining the chat this evening. We're talking about making sure we understand at this point that the message is more important than the messenger. So we have to get to that point, you all. We have to be the kind of messenger who understands that the moment is not about me, but the moment is about the message itself. Many times when we talk to people, when we converse with people, when we have communication with people, it is about the message. It is about the message. That is why we make efforts to communicate. That is why we make efforts to be understood. That is why we make efforts to consider the impacts that our words will have on other people to whom we speak. The message is important. Whenever you have something to say, you understand in that moment it's about the message. It is about the message. It is important to me when I speak that I think about what impact my conversation is going to have on somebody else. Why? Because the moment is not about me, but the moment is about the message. Because it's not necessarily me that would draw the people back. It's what I have to say. Why? Because at some point you will get tired of the vessel. But if the vessel keeps pouring something that you can use, something that will grow you, something that will develop you, something that will help you to become better, if the vessel keeps pouring that kind of stuff out, you keep standing under the vessel and say, pour. And you understand it's not about the vessel, but it's about the content. It is the same way with us when we're delivering a message. And then when we are receiving the message, when we're on the end of the communication channel where we're hearing, you all, the challenge, here's the challenge. The challenge is for us to be open enough, to be objective enough, and mature enough to hear the message itself. And when we are delivering the message, the challenge is for us to be, you all can tell that I'm big on communication. When we are delivering the message, the challenge is for us to be concerned enough, caring enough, and wise enough to use the appropriate tone, the appropriate words, the appropriate dynamics to make sure our message is received. Do you not know? You all already know this. You already, by the time I start this, you all will finish it. You all know that it's not always what you say, but how you say it. And I just want to remind us, you all, I just really want to remind us, you have so much important stuff inside your vessel. That's where I'm going with this evening. You have so much important stuff inside of you, the vessel. You contain so much valuable stuff. That's right, it's how you say it. You have so much valuable stuff within you. Don't allow your vessel to become tainted, whereby people can't receive your message. And struggle and work to make sure that what you're pouring is something of substance into people's lives. Because I am a firm believer that when you spend time and space with people, you're not offering them just anything, but you're pouring out of your heart. You're pouring out of your experience, and you're pouring out of your life into other people. Live in such a way that what you pour is going to help somebody else grow. So that you, as the messenger, can pour healthy messages on people, because you got it within you all. And that's country, I know it is, but I'm just country, but you have it within you. I'm just getting us to a place where we can examine that we have value in us. We have substance in us. We have things that will change people's lives within us. And many times it's not received because they dismiss us as the vessels. So y'all keep pouring, all right? Keep pouring and understand and appreciate that you do have something of substance to pour. Just make sure that you do the work so people can receive it. There is nothing worse than a conversation of nothingness. It's bad enough to hear it, and it's even worse when you're delivering it. Within a certain sphere, I train people to speak, and I say to them, folk would rather hear you talk for 5 minutes and say something of substance rather than 25 minutes of nothingness. Let's not offer people conversations of nothingness. So then, listen, y'all don't only have 1,800 seconds, and I have to get to the next quote. The next quote for June 1st. Here we go. June 1st, it says, the tenets of your faith should never be up for discussion. Oh, here we go, you all. Here we go. The tenets of your faith should never be up for discussion. I've got to get here. Tenets, of course, is just another word for principle or belief. And I've had the privilege of traveling around the world to other countries whose primary religion is not necessarily the same that I practice. I got to go here. And what I admire the most about the citizens of those countries was that many of them were just as committed and dedicated to their belief as I am. Whether it meant going to a religious service at a certain time, operating or praying at a certain time, or wearing a certain thing, they were faithful and committed to what they believed. And over the years, I've been fortunate, I've been blessed. I've had friends, colleagues, students, relatives who were Hindu, Buddhist, Muslim, Catholic, Jehovah's Witness, Jewish, all of it, you name it. And the one thing that we all had in common was that we all wanted to enjoy the right to believe what we believed. So out of my own conviction, I've learned that the principles of what I believe, the tenets of my faith, they are not up for discussion. We can talk about the application of how I live out what I believe, but what I believe is not up to be challenged. And I want to say that to you all this evening. Lay hold on the thing that you believe and let it ground you and sit in that thing. And understand when it comes to the tenets of your faith and the tenets of your belief, just say to people, they're not up for discussion. Now, if I welcome you to a discussion onto how I play that out and how I live that out, that's one thing. But what I believe is not up for a challenge. I believe God loves me. That's not up for a challenge. I believe that I have to love my neighbor as myself. That's not up for a challenge. But just to be clear, Cutler, what does that mean? Well, it means that what does it look like to love my neighbor as myself? We can talk about that. What does it mean? How do I live that out from day to day? We can talk about that. But we're not going to discuss, you're not going to challenge the fact that I believe I have to love my neighbor as myself. How do I interact with my neighbors? We can talk about those things. But you all, the tenets of your faith, don't let those be up for challenge. Don't even fight about those. I often tell people, and take this from me, you all, say to people, I believe what I believe. And there are some things that I'm going to die believing. I believe it's right to be thankful and to show gratitude. I just believe that that's right. Nobody's going to change my mind. I'm going to believe that until the day that I die. The tenets of my faith, what I believe, some of them are not up for discussion. And because I believe that it's right to be thankful, I also believe that it's right to seek guidance throughout the day, the guidance of God. And I believe it's right to do that. So whether you take prayer out of school or not, I've learned to make time for God. I've learned to pray while I move about my day. I've learned to talk to him when nobody else can hear me. Those are the things. Thank you, Tracy. Those are the things. So when we share those kinds of things, you say, no, that's just what I believe. And you don't get to take that away. You don't get to challenge me on that. So we can talk about those. So what am I saying, you all? Believe what you believe. Because we just, I think it was just Memorial Day. Listen, you all, somebody fought so that you can have your faith. The only thing Cutler is saying to you all is to fight so that you can keep it. Somebody fought so that you can have it. Learn how to fight so that you can keep it. And you say to people, it's not up for discussion. If that's the only fight you're going to get is resistance. It's not up for discussion. Why do I say that? Because the anecdote, let me just read the second part of this, and then I got to go. You all, I've got to go. You all have held me here longer than 1,800 seconds. But the bottom part, the anecdote of this quote says this: you can disagree about doctrine, but don't ever argue about your faith. Contend for it. Fight for it. Fight for the right to have it, but never argue about it. We ain't going to argue about what I believe. I'm just giving you all something. So when you show up tomorrow, show up firm. Show up with a resolve that says, I've shown up a little stronger because I spent some time with Cutler, who said, don't argue with people about what you believe. That you don't get the time of the day. You want to fight or oppose opposition? That's what you get, the hand. Because I'm opposing now the opposition that comes to my life. Your faith is personal. Your belief is specific to you. So believe what you believe. Tell people it's not up for discussion. You all know, listen, me as a spiritual person, as a religious person, I can't help but share all of this because when I believe in holistic wellness, I believe in holistic wellness from the inside out. I believe it's right to give thanks. So I want to say thank you all for sharing this time and sharing this space with me. I don't take it for granted. I really, really don't. When you all show up, I count it a blessing. It enriches my day. Thank you all so much for that. Thank you for the positive energy that you bring. It really propels me to meet the next day feeling a little more refreshed. I hope I, to some degree, do the same thing for you all. All right. I'm here every Tuesday and every Thursday for 1,800 seconds. You all kept me a little longer this evening, but listen, it is my joy. It is my delight to be here. I trust that you will share this channel with your friends, your family, your neighbors, and share it with somebody. I will be right here Thursday. But until Thursday, y'all, do me this favor. Let's keep building community. Let's keep maintaining connectivity. Keep your heads up, but more importantly, keep your hope up, you all. Hope says, I have great expectations. And I have great expectations for my life. That's what I want you to say. I want that to be one of your affirmations. I'm keeping my head up, but Cutler told me to keep my hope up as well. He told me to elevate my hope as it pertains to me. Have great expectations out of your own life. And then in the midst of this pandemic, you all, there's still a pandemic out there. Stay safe and stay sane. And know that from my heart to yours, there is and always will be much love. Good night, all.